It's 4 o'clock in Los Angeles. It is 6 o'clock in Chicago. And it's 7 p.m. here in New York City. Hello, everybody. I'm Mad Dog DeCipio, joined as I am once again this week by the by the mouth of the South, Amelia, the Pitbull Chapman. How are you, Amelia?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm fine.
Hi,
I
Mary.
almost called you a pain in the ass. Well, you actually are.
See what I have to put up
You're a
with.
good pain in the ass. We have a very, very special guest tonight. You're going to be seeing double Depp tonight. Double trouble, Depp style. Our guest is Danny Lopez. He is factually the single most scary looking guy you'll ever see because he looks like Johnny Depp. That's frightening. When I tell you the similarities between these two guys, it's absolutely uncanny to think that he's walking around with Johnny's face. But no makeup, no surgery, no prosthetics. That's Danny Lopez. Danny, welcome to the show,
Welcome
my
to the
friend.
studio. Hey, welcome to the show.
We're going to
Mad
forego
Dog.
our normal banter. Amelia and I are going to forego our normal banter tonight because that'll go 20, 30 minutes. We're going to get right into it. First of all, welcome to What's the Buzz, America's Best Podcast. Now on TikTok. We are now on TikTok. Yay, Papa, yay. So, yes. Want to talk to you a little bit. First of all, welcome to the show again.
It's great.
We had the chance to speak on the phone a bit. I'll tell you what, you could blow an hour talking to Danny Lopez on the phone. With standing on your head, you could blow an hour. It's amazing because I have such a wide, range of topics I could talk to this young guy about. I call him young because he's a few years younger than me.
I'm a senior citizen, as a
Yeah, I'm more senior than you, brother. Trust me when I tell you. Oh man. But yeah, welcome, and we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Oh my God. When you first came into my radar, I thought to myself, "Ain't no way. This guy's got to be wearing makeup. He's got to have maybe some surgery done, a little nip and tuck." But then I do a little bit of research and I do some homework and I troll and I dig. And lo and behold, Danny Lopez has looked like Johnny Depp since he was just a wee little kid. So how did you come into this, fall into this crazy world of entertainment, celebrity impersonation? The whole bit. I mean, how did you? I know that you're a musician, but how the hell did you become an actor?
Well, first of all, thank you, Mad Dog, and my girl Amelia down there in Florida. We hit it off, and you guys are amazing people, and we've had a good time chatting with you. Wow, what a story! Where do I start? Okay, well, as we talk, you're going to find there's a lot of strange parallels with Mr. Depp. I grew up in Los Angeles, and I always wanted to be an actor. That was my thing. I was an actor. I studied acting. I went through high school, and I was in all the plays and did well. Always got awards, and I continued into college, which probably, in retrospect, might have not been a smart thing. In the 80s, I came up with Cruise, Matthew Broderick. I ran into Matthew Broderick, Robert Downey, Charlie Sheen, Emilio Estevez, all that 80s Brat Pack group. And I remember it's kind of interesting when I was going out on auditions, I would always be asked, "Weren't you just in here?" Or, "Didn't I just see you? Aren't you?" And I said, no, there's a guy that looks like me. Now, Mad Dog, this is a great story. Back around 83, 84, my sister comes home after seeing a movie called A Nightmare on Elm Street. And my sister says to me, she comes into my room and knocks on the door and says, "Hey, there's a guy that looks like you from Nightmare on Elm Street." And I thought she was talking about Freddy Krueger. And yeah, get out of my no, there's a guy the kid who looked, I thought she was trying to say I look like Englund with the makeup. And I said, "Oh, okay. Well, there's a lot of guys that have the dark hair and the superstar handsome looks, but it wasn't me." But and so Mad Dog, what happened was this is the first time he came on my radar, is when my sister told me about this film called A Nightmare on Elm Street. Interestingly, I found out later my agent, can I mention his name?
Absolutely.
Jack Scagnetti, who is a legend, and some of those of you that know Tom Sizemore's work will know Jack Scagnetti.
I know who Jack was. Sure.
I submitted you for Nightmare on Elm Street, but they went with a guy that looks like you. Well, it turns out his name was Johnny Depp. And that's the first time I heard his name. And I guess about a year later, he did a movie called He'll Kill Me for This, called Private Resort. And and I thought, well, this guy's just going to be, he's not going anywhere. So I continued with my career.
Yeah.
But interestingly, he caught on as time went on with Platoon, and then he jumped from Platoon to doing 21 Jump Street. And at that time, I wasn't having much luck with acting. I'd done a few things, but not really, just minor things. And I ended up saying, well, I've got to make a living. So I picked up the guitar. I played a little guitar. I took a couple of years in high school, and I knew basic chords. And at that time, I said, well, I'm not making any money acting. Maybe I could use my acting skills to do a Beatles show. And so I thought, well, I could probably play the one that doesn't sing. It turns out he sings well, and George Harrison. Mm-hmm. So I taught myself all the riffs and the licks, and I started playing music for a living. I got in with some of the Beatlemania guys from Rain, Steve Landis, and
Sure.
Kishman. You know these guys.
Absolutely, of course.
And they're just wonderful guys. I love them. They're still friends of mine to this day. And I started playing guitar for a living.
Yeah.
And that lasted all of 20 years. So
remarkable.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Absolutely remarkable. So you become an actor, and
I'm an actor who became a musician.
Yeah.
Whereas Johnny was a musician. He came to LA with the band The Kids to get
sure.
his band started. And his wife at the time worked with Nicolas Cage, I think. And and he met Nicolas Cage, who told Johnny about acting, and Johnny was desperate for work and money, and as we all are, all artists are. And Johnny ended up Johnny's a reverse. So he came into it as a musician who became an actor. Yeah. I came in as an actor who became a musician. I'm back
so the parallel is almost a reverse parallel in some regard.
Mm-hmm.
So you were the actor that became a musician.
Correct.
When did you know that you had musical chops?
I always loved the Beatles, Elvis and the Beatles and the Stones, Led Zeppelin, that era. I was a little kid, but you have older cousins and nephews, uncles and things.
I met Elvis.
We got to talk about that, because we'll take you down next time to the Elvis room. But I actually have things owned by Elvis. I have one of Elvis's guns and one of his belts, and I'm a big Elvis Presley fan. Long story, and Aunt Delta yelled at me at Graceland. I thought that was great. I got a photo of it somewhere. But I ended up in this world of music, of tribute bands, which in the 80s, tribute bands were huge. Mad Dog, there was a tribute band to just about every rock and roll.
Absolutely. Everyone had a tribute. Absolutely everyone.
Good ones, good tribute bands.
Incredible. And now they're all, as we're losing the originals, the tributes are becoming the way to go.
The actual bands are now tribute bands. Journey has a guy from a tribute band. Judas Priest has a guy from a. So it's evolved now to where the tribute band, where the train meets with the tribute band and the original band. Yeah. And that's fascinating, because when I had started, when the Beatles everybody was doing Beatles. I said, well, I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna do the Monkees.
Oh God,
which was my Beatles as a little kid. And I ended up being on stage with Peter Tork and Mickey Dolenz playing with the Monkees. Now imagine a kid in East LA growing up in a poor neighborhood, and I'm watching the Monkees every week, and I'm on stage with them playing Davy Jones with Peter Tork and Mickey Dolenz. It was so surreal. And these were the kinds of things that happened to me in tribute bands. I got to be friends with a lot of people who worked with the Beatles. George Harrison's sister was a good friend and a big fan of my band. I met Harry Nielsen. I met Walter Shenson, who produced A Hard Day's Night. I met Neil Aspinall, Pete Best. And it's so surreal.
Pete Best is coming on the show.
Is that right? Oh my God.
One of my dear friends used to own the Cavern Club.
Oh, okay.
And I had her on the show, Debbie Greenberg.
Wow.
Yeah, Debbie and her father used to own the cavern.
That's right.
So
And
yeah,
I was at the cavern actually. I went down there and sat in with the band, the English Beatles down there, up there, I should say. And so my career, I kind of backed into it in a way,
yeah.
in that I stopped doing acting in favor, because the tribute bands do pay well. They do. And some tribute bands have international fame, like they get started and then you tour, and I was one of those guys. I was the first Beatles tribute band to play in the former Soviet Union. We played in Moscow and St. Petersburg, and that was really. And they had a lot of Russian Beatle fans, and I just thought, wow, they were blacklisted in the '60s.
No, sure,
The
absolutely.
Beatles. You can own a Beatles record in the
No, absolutely not.
and so it was interesting to be able to go there and play for these older folks who had gone through that type of censorship.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and that was kind of a cool thing because my Beatles career probably in a lot of ways was just as big as doubling for Johnny, because of the connection I had to the Beatles family.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I in the late '70s, I was just a kid. I think I was in high school and at the time, and Mark Lapidus, who puts out the Beatle Fest, he had a lookalike contest. They don't do it anymore because I would win it every year for George Harrison. And
sure.
I thought, well, it was kind of cool because the only thing about when I was doing George is when I would finish, I would comb the Beatle hair back and I'd have the high hair, and they'd say, "Oh, 21 Jump Street." So the kids would think I was Johnny Depp playing George Harrison.
Exactly.
And so it was very strange, right? And then I thought, well, that's kind of cool, and it was just a weird coincidence, and because as you know, Johnny's a big Beatles fan. I think he's worked.
Oh, absolutely. Of course he is.
McCartney, and a lot of us that in our age group,
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. I'm gonna go right there. So let's talk about that. At what point does Johnny Depp hear that there's a kid running around with his face?
Immediately. My mother, this is the God's honest truth. Okay, I would only lie to Amelia because I'm trying to impress her. But Mad Dog, I'm going to give you the cold hard facts. Yes, my mother went on the line, and she had some of my old headshots. Moms collect that kind of stuff. 8x10 inch that Jack Scagnetti would send out to the casting directors. So she went on and she looked up Johnny Depp 1985 and Danny Lopez 19. So our pictures came up. She put this collage together. I think Amelia and I were talking about this recently. And we look like twin brothers, like literally. Like, I could see how characters were confused. Amelia, right? I mean,
yes, very confused.
Same faces, Mad Dog, but it wasn't planned. It was just coincidence.
Haircuts, everything.
Haircut, the earring, the whole deal, and it was just coincidence. And that was something, because I remember in 1985 when he was out. This is probably pre Private Resort even. And that my ex-girlfriend said, "Hey, there's a guy that looks like you?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "He's a Cuban guy." And she and he called me Desi Arnaz. Oh, that's Desi Arnaz, not Danny Lopez. Desi Arnaz. I wish I was Desi Arnaz. I love Desi Arnaz. And it was just kind of a funny thing. It wasn't a rivalry. It wasn't. There was no. It was just, Amelia. You probably said, "Oh, do I know you?" No, that's somebody else. Everybody has it. But Mad Dog looks just like a young Elvis Presley. If you're looking at Mad Dog from the side, and you're blind and you're far away, he looks.
And you're blind and you're far away. Sure.
He looks just like it. But everybody has that. But what made it interesting was people that the mannerisms or something was the same with the casting director who looks at people all day.
Yeah. My celebrity lookalike is a movie star, actually.
Brad Pitt?
Yeah. No, Gizmo from Gremlins.
I knew it. I had a feeling. And you used to remember Corey Feldman. He says,
people hit me up for my autograph all the time. Well, let's talk about this.
I
So
gotta tell
Johnny
you,
finds out there's this guy running around with his face. There's got to be a curiosity factor. Somebody has to say, "All right, these guys got to meet here."
Yeah.
So
well,
when does this happen? When does the big
okay,
meetup
so
happen?
1985, we do meet, and he's going in, I'm going out, and he's getting on a motorcycle, and he's just looking at me, and he goes, "Desi,
Oh my God, you really?
That is funny.
wave me around. You're the guy stealing my gigs, you know." And I looked, and he looked at me, and he looked down, and he kind of smiled, started his bike up, and that was it. That was my first encounter. So
Really?
I attribute it to, because it wasn't a diss though. It wasn't a diss. It was he was shy. And I found out later
Yeah.
Johnny's very, very, very shy, painfully
Yes,
shy.
he is.
He's since gotten better. And my girlfriend at the time, and she was observing it, laughed, and she said, gosh, I wish I had had a picture of that, because it was the Twilight Zone episode where
Looking in the mirror.
they look in the mirror.
Yeah.
And that was it. He was, and I didn't take it as anything weird. I just took it as he's quiet and he's shy. But
but at some point, you're playing music, you're making a living, you're waiting for acting gigs to come in, and everybody in LA is auditioning, and everybody's going to every open call they can. And,
right.
And I know what it's like. I've been that route.
Right.
So at some point you gotta hunker down. You gotta make a living doing something.
That's correct.
So you happen to look like this guy that's making a very good living. At what point does Danny Lopez cash in on his natural good looks?
Well, this is the kind of thing how it's where the train meets, but it also splits. So when George Harrison of the Beatles, he's one of my favorites. He's a bit of a scouser, but he's really trouble when he's in, he does this sort of things. But George Harrison, the world of the Beatles came into my world.
Sure.
And I made very good money playing George Harrison. So from about 1987, 88, Platoon was the last movie Jack Scagnani submitted me for. And it was shooting in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, I'm not going to. That was around the time of Marcos and the revolutions.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Crazy stuff. Middle 80s. And I remember hearing that Johnny Depp took the part.
Yeah.
I think they were different parts, but I can't be certain. And that was the last acting venture for me. In as far as like he got it. Obviously, it went big for him in the acting with 21 Jump Street and Edward Scissorhands.
Sure.
And for me, on the other side of the deal, it got big for me as George Harrison. To a point, we became kind of this cult Beatles band.
Yeah.
And I remember playing in a casino in Las Vegas, and we're doing our Beatles thing. And I had a great Lennon and McCartney lookalike. Mm-hmm. And a producer for, you'll love this, Mad Dog, you'll love this. Producer for Paramount Pictures comes up to us and he goes, "Can any of you guys act?" And I said, "Well, that's what I do. I'm an actor, blah, blah, blah." He goes, "Okay." He goes, "I want to put you in a story about when Elvis Presley met the Beatles." Well, of course, the other guys didn't know that. I knew that because I'm a Beatles Elvis. And I said, "Okay." And he goes, "It's a miniseries on Elvis, and we're going to recreate at the actual Bel Air place where the Beatles met Elvis."
Yep.
So we audition, and of course, I get through right away. I'm the first one picked. And I helped the other two guys in my band. I said, "Okay, here's what you got to do, man. This is walking them through it." So we were in a miniseries, the only miniseries and the only recreation of when Elvis Presley met the Beatles. So they had an actor there playing Brian Epstein and Colonel Parker.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Elvis wasn't real thrilled about meeting the Beatles because they were the new Elvis.
Yeah.
There was a lot of animosity there. Yeah. I know the backstory
on Elvis'
there.
part, not the Beatles. The Beatles were the Beatles.
They were all excited to meet him. He could have gave a shit.
They just wanted to meet Elvis. They didn't care about Dean Martin. None of that mattered. Yep. Sinatra, they didn't care. They wanted to meet Elvis. So, long story short, my band, or two members of my band, and I don't know who the guy playing Ringo was, but they brought us to the house, put us in the costumes and the Beatles. We drove up in a 1965 limousine through the gates, and they had all these extras, and they were screaming, and we recreated when Elvis Presley met the Beatles. They had the Memphis Mafia guys there. I met Marty Lacker, Richard Davis, you know these guys, Mad Dog.
I knew them well. I knew
Fortis,
Joe Esposito and Charlie Hodge very well.
And everybody had a different story about that.
Sure, absolutely.
Nobody had the same. And so we sat there on the couch and stared at Elvis because we didn't know. Everybody agreed the Beatles didn't know what to say to him. They just basically sat there and stared at Elvis. And Elvis got uncomfortable.
It was actually Paul McCartney that broke the ice.
That's
Danny.
right. He says, "You're playing the bass."
Because Elvis was sitting down playing a bass guitar.
Well, Elvis got mad at them and said, "You know, if you guys are going to stare at me all night, I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to get up and go to bed."
He did. That was exactly what he said.
Because I thought maybe we could jam or something. And McCartney said, "Oh my God, you know," and he mentioned Elvis playing the bass. Now some say that they did jam, that the Beatles jammed Matchbox and one other Carl Perkins song, that there was a jam. Now the Beatles, it's hazy and everything, but we recreated.
Yeah.
And
there wasn't, for the record, there was never a jam.
Never a jam.
Nope.
But we recreated a jam, and it's on YouTube.
Sure.
It's called Elvis Presley Meets the Beatles. If anybody wants to see it, I'm Harrison in it, and there were scenes cut. There was the scenes out where George is asking for reefer, asking the Memphis Mafia guys for reefer, and the Beatles had never seen a color TV set in a remote control. That one I got from Fortis, and it sounded like that they hadn't seen it before, a remote control in a color TV. So John and George ran up to it and they're looking at it. And that scene was also cut, but I have the footage from it. Anyway, so from that went to playing in the casino, and Chevy Chase and Randy, Cousin Eddie. Help me, Amelia. Randy Quaid. Randy Quaid.
Yes.
Randy Quaid and Chevy Chase came into the casino. And Chevy's watching us, and I'm like, fuck, I don't think he likes us, you know. And we finished our set, and he walked up to us. He goes, "I want to put you guys in my movie." Well, I didn't know what it was at the time. I was kind of removed from acting, and I said,
"Sure.
What is movie?" I go, "Oh man, we'd love to do a movie because it's called Vegas Vacation."
Yes, I love that movie.
And I love the vacation movies, right? Especially Christmas. We watch it every year.
Yes.
And so he said to me, he says, "What do you want us to do?" You know, obviously wanted us to be. He said, "Well, we'll come up with something."
Oh, sure.
And so when you watch the movie Vegas Vacation, there's a scene where Audrey goes in to party with Cousin Eddie's daughter.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And I dated her briefly. She's a great girl. And we are the Beatles in the back of this pickup truck, just basically doing our Beatles faces and partying at the what do they call it? The cemetery for the dead Vegas signs.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I remember that.
Yes. So here I am, guys. This is coming to a story where it ends, and where I am basically being thrown back into acting via the Beatles show. And so I thought, well, God, you know, I'd love to get back into doing this. And I thought, well, you know, I was getting tired of it after 20 years. I went from about 85 to about 2005.
Yeah.
Goatee and I wear glasses anyway, and the hair grew the hair out. And then I got myself a few props and said, okay, let's do this sort of thing, you know. So, and you know, the earring doing Johnny Depp. So I thought, I wonder if I could make money as a celebrity impersonator.
Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Right.
Show up.
A lot of money if you play your cards right.
Just act like I'm fucked up.
Right. I had to do a double take. I was like, wait a minute, who's that?
Is that Tim Burton there? Watching Johnny work as an actor, I can nail him, right? Whether it's Jack Sparrow. Oh, yeah. So I said, this could be interesting. I don't have a drummer to wait on.
Yeah.
I don't have the bass player bitching at me. I could put my guys in a suitcase, my costumes.
Right.
Absolutely. Of course you can.
And this is the birth of the Danny is Depp thing. Okay. And what happened was Johnny Depp from 2003 to about 2010, right before he met Heard, was the king of the world. He was Elvis,
Sure.
right? There was no bigger
Right.
name.
Oh, God, absolutely not.
My
Of course not.
timing after the first pirate movie, I was almost catapulted into it because my first gig was a casino that paid me $10,000,
Right.
Mhm.
That's
right, to walk around as Jack Sparrow.
Sure.
And I said, $10,000, wow, and no drummer. I don't have to wait for the drummer. So Mad Dog, and this was 2005, like I said, and then the thing got crazy, right? I started out doing the celebrity impersonation. And then somebody says, "Hey, I got to have you in my commercial." Okay.
Mhm.
Calls from Europe, calls from Asia. They wanted me in, name it, Vietnam. Yeah, I mean, crazy places.
Absolutely. Of
Mongolia.
course.
right.
I thought, okay, this might be a way for me to get back into the acting part of the business, right?
Sure.
It
Absolutely.
looks like it. I resemble him. So I thought, well, okay. So the thing went nuts because there were times that where if I would go out, people just assumed I was him, right?
Yeah.
And so I started meeting these other celebrity impersonators. And about a year after I started, Maury Povich calls, the Maury Povich show. And I thought, oh shit, I'm not the father. I didn't do it.
He's a tool. Oh,
yeah.
Maury's a
I
tool.
was not the father, okay, of this.
Right.
And he says, I want to do a program on all the doubles for the lookalikes of the Angelina, Britney Spears,
Yeah.
who knows, Snoop Dogg, whoever it was hot at the time.
Sure. Absolutely.
And that started getting me offers in film.
Mhm.
And I thought, well, okay.
Well, now, are you being offered
Right.
guest spots? Are you being offered starring roles? Are
Everything.
you being offered walk-ons? Or, are you working for scale? Are you working
all
for
of it.
You're doing everything that comes your way.
Depp related type things. So in other
Mhm.
words, can you fly out? A lot of it public appearance, because Johnny, when he was living in France, he wasn't accessible.
Yeah.
You'll notice that Johnny, when he was with Perry D and his little kids, he was so far removed, which
Yeah.
made his mystique higher. His mystery was much, like I said,
Yeah.
I think had Johnny stayed in France,
Well, that was the story there was an
Mhm.
artificial mystique. They were trying to create a mystique for him, but it didn't quite work because he's far too shy and
correct.
far too down to earth.
Right. A nice guy, a good guy, a really good human being, and in the wrong business.
Yeah.
The nicest guy, and I love Hollywood. I've been doing it my whole life.
Think about how many years, Danny,
Mhm.
it took for you to realize your dream. Imagine it took him 30 plus years, 35 years
Yeah,
to finally realize his dream of being a musician.
that's right.
He didn't really want to be an actor, but look, they paid him ridiculous,
That's right.
ridiculous, pardon my language, folks, fucking money
Right.
to
That's
do
right.
that nightmare film. He never made that much money in his life
That's right.
for what he got for one movie.
That's right. That's the same thing. He was selling pens. He was just trying to pay the rent.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I think he made $3,000 but $3,000 in '84, right? That's a lot of dough. And so as it became, it's just funny how I've kind of been catapulted back into acting, and he's
Yeah.
doing music full time. So it kind of like works out in that weird kind of
Yeah.
way. But the one thing that I was always grateful for, because as the guy, I would get the Marriotts, the 5 stars, and the limos, and
Yeah.
and after a while, the girls just everything. You think, oh man, I don't know if I'd be happy with this.
Yeah.
It's weird. Everything you think would be.
It
cool.
is. It's a strange thing. I saw it
Yeah,
happen.
like the devil, the monkey's paw, or the Twilight Zone episode where the guy thinks he's in heaven, but he's actually gone down. He's
Yeah.
Right.
it's a weird, crazy business. And
Yeah.
I thought I get all the perks as the double, but I can go home. I can walk into a McDonald's.
Absolutely.
There's nobody going through my trash. There's not paparazzi hiding in
Yeah.
a tree. And
Exactly right.
I would see when I was dressed up and paparazzi hiding and following us and jumping on the hood of the car or trying to get a reaction, you know?
Yeah.
Your wife's a whore, blah, 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 saying things to get a punch shot, you know, or,
Oh
Sure.
my gosh.
you know,
Oh no, they'll do anything to get that
Yeah.
shot, the money shot.
and you're a human being, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's
And
the money shot. I'll tell you what, our guest from last night
Yes.
is actually here. He's got some nice things to say about you,
I
Dan.
love him. I love him.
Michael Simmons. This guy looks more like Gene Simmons than
I
Gene does.
love him. Yeah,
Right.
he's the
A
boy.
powerful and attractive man, Mr. Danny Lopez. And indeed, he is absolutely right.
Right.
You're a very fine looking young fella. Amelia,
I had this
I know
picture.
that whenever handsome guys are around, that you want to throw your 2 cents in. So go ahead and
up.
throw 4
Okay.
cents in, okay?
I noticed that one picture that you were just in the grocery store, just walking around with the cart, and nobody stopped you, like you were saying.
We
Does that
talked
happen?
about that, Danny.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You walked
Yeah.
into a grocery store looking like Johnny,
Mhm.
and there's not one person in that photograph
Uh-huh.
that even remotely turned around to
Yeah.
look at you.
It's the one thing, and I think every celebrity impersonator will tell you, Amelia, I think I told you this story, is that we don't look in the mirror and see the celebrity. I don't care how close you are to that person.
Yeah.
You don't see them.
Right.
So when we go out, we're not looking like I'm not looking like Johnny Depp. It's me, what I look like with my glasses. And so the number one question we get, because everybody has a double, and every time you watch a movie, there's a double on set that looks like that actor.
Sure.
Some of them assume the personalities.
Oh yes.
I don't. I'm very extroverted, and Johnny's very quiet and shy. But I'm that other Gemini twin. I'm the one that's loud and obnoxious. But one of the things that they tell me, Mad Dog, you'll hear this every day. Do you know who you look like?
Sure, absolutely.
Every
That's
time.
Mad
Yeah.
Dog. That's the number one thing any lookalike will tell you. Do you know who you look like? And I always say Brad Pitt. And Gord, the English comedian. He's got a talk show in England. Graham Norton.
Oh, sure, Graham. Yeah.
Graham Norton sent me out on the subways, and everybody, crazy talk. So the girl goes, the real Johnny's on. She goes, I talked to you on the train. And Johnny's like, and Ricky Gervais is like, yeah, you did. And she goes, you told me you were Brad Pitt, which is what I usually say. And then Graham Norton says, wouldn't that be funny if that was really Brad Pitt she ran into? But it was me. So I've seen many talk shows where they've sworn to see Johnny Depp, but I know where I was and that it was me and things. So the funny bit is, why is he here? Like Amelia just brought up, why is Johnny shopping here? But it isn't uncommon, especially in England, because they don't bother him in England. Americans are the worst when it comes to that sort of thing.
But you look so happy and carefree. That's what, not all the celebrities do that. They can't even, like you said. Yeah.
They can't. Johnny can't go into it. I remember one time, and I think I told Amelia this story, where we went into the loo at the LAX.
Yes.
And he's doing his business at the urinal. And Mad Dog, this big football player, 6'9", 300-pound linebacker, comes up while he's doing his business. Hey, Willy Wonka, and puts his hand in his hand. And he's looking at him like, reminded me of that scene in Animal House where the guy.
Yeah, which hand do you give him?
Yeah, where the mitt comes out, right? And I thought to myself, this guy can't take a leak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is an interesting thing because in the same bathroom is Marv Levy, the old coach of the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
Mad Dog might know him. I don't know if you would know him, but he was a coach and he was
absolutely, of course.
He went to the Super Bowl.
I'm older than dirt. I know everybody.
Marv Levy comes over and he says, it's got to be difficult for you. And I wasn't particularly depped up. I was just, and I said, he says, I can't wash my hands in Buffalo without people holding out their hands and stuff.
Yeah.
And it struck me that how lucky I was. And I'll tell you why, because like I said, what is it like for him? And I see through his eyes. I see how people approach you like you're a bomb or, like you're a thing. And they don't have, every person wants a barrier that you have your personal space.
Sure.
But imagine Mad Dog if you didn't have that. If somebody bought your DVD and they're in your living room and they feel like they know you, So they come up and they
Yeah.
start touching you, Mad Dog, you know, and some of these women, it's all right. But I mean, I'm talking about people invading your
Yeah.
private space.
Right,
Yeah, I
exactly.
actually understand that. You know, I spoke to you off camera before we started the show and mentioned to you that I spent 25 years in pro wrestling. Well, I was quite a big deal in pro wrestling.
Right.
And I understand what that's like to have that space invaded.
Touching, getting,
Oh, yeah.
expecting
Well,
time
like
because they bought
literally
right.
pulling me
Mhm.
into a picture frame so
Right.
somebody could get a shot.
Right.
You know, I understand what that's like.
Well,
And it's quite uncomfortable.
it's very uncomfortable because they feel like you owe them because they bought I bought your CD. I bought your.
Well, here's what you're owed. Dick squat, okay? Here's what you're owed. Nothing. I'm going to tell you why. You bought the ticket, okay? It means you saw the movie.
Mm,
Right.
Good. Eat your popcorn and go to hell home. All right?
right.
You saw the concert. Good. Did you enjoy the music? Great. Get up and go home.
Right.
That's right.
It doesn't mean that you get to take home a personal souvenir like somebody's hair or their clothing, you know, or rip a patch out of their chest.
Exactly.
You
Mad
know?
Dog, you know the story when the Beatles came to America and they were at a party for the snobby rich in Beverly Hills.
Sure.
And
I
a
do.
woman came up and snipped Ringo's hair. She
Oh.
cut
Yeah.
his hair. And
They
that,
did. It's a true story.
yeah, true story.
He's telling you a true story.
Yeah.
Wow.
And she cut his hair. I mean, she cut Ringo's hair. And this is the kind of thing where I remember when I was doing some doubling stuff where he couldn't do the Avril Lavigne video and they sent me down to do the Mad Hatter. And I remember being on the set there and when I came out in that this is before the movie came out, every single camera on the set, you don't see this on a movie set, Mad Dog, you know this. You're not allowed to do that.
No.
But Depp was so big at the time, people said, screw it. They were just cameras everywhere. And I thought, oh my God.
That's taboo, brother. That's
I've never
taboo.
seen this on a Hollywood movie. But
Wow.
at that point, he was still very, very, very big, very popular. And it's so bizarre because with the whole thing with how things can turn like that, boom.
Absolutely.
And with the whole Amber Heard thing, and everybody knew that was going to be the Titanic. Everybody knew.
Oh, that was a cluster fucking making, brother.
Yeah.
By the way, Tracy Adams says, "What's up, Danny? Miss you, bro." Tracy
Hi,
McDowell.
Tracy. I love Tracy.
There you go.
Oh, we got a
And,
commercial
Tracy,
break
Tracy,
coming.
1987 when I was.
You got your 5 minutes, Trace.
We got a
Amelia,
commercial break
question.
coming up.
I got a commercial. I got a
We got a
sponsor
commercial
break.
break
coming up. Tell you what, let me do my break here. And I hope my sponsors don't mind, but I'm going to do everything at one shot. So stay with us. We'll be back with Danny Lopez right after this word from Shopify.
Yep.
Sit back and enjoy a word from our sponsor at Shopify.
Jess wanted to start a business when something surprising happened.
Today I'm going to teach you how to crochet.
She started crocheting, like a lot. And her friends noticed.
Jess, you need to sell those.
So she signed up for Shopify and started building her business.
Yes, I love that.
And after a lot of hard work, this happened.
Oh my gosh, I just made my first sale!
You see, every day, hundreds of businesses get their first sale on Shopify.
We got ding!
And the next could be you. So when you're ready to bring your idea to life,
And become your own boss.
build it on Shopify.
What's Buzz Podcast wants to welcome Radioactive FM 88.6 in Wellington, New Zealand, Radio Perth, Australia, and RTL Radio 102.5 in Milan, Italy. Welcome aboard, and welcome to the Buzz. Do you have sweaty balls or volleyball netty balls? It's time to make them ready balls. The Manscaped.com Lawnmower 3.0 will do the job and cleans your knob with its patented no-nick head, so your head will function as desired. Enter promo code Wrestling Future for a generous 20% discount. That's enter Wrestling Future for a 20% discount. Manscaped.com and Wrestling with the Future, going balls to the walls with Manscaped.com and the Lawnmower 3.0. Your balls will thank you, and so will we. Welcome back to America's Best Podcast. What's the Buzz? Our special guest tonight, Johnny Depp lookalike, actor, singer, musician, nice guy. His name is Danny Lopez. Danny, we are back. You got a little message here from Linda Rita Morgan. She says, "Hey, Danny,
Oh, my sister.
so good to see you."
Linda, I love you. You're the best. I've known Linda forever. She actually has a crush on Edward Scissorhands. And I'm going to say, you know, I love doing Edward Scissorhands. That's my favorite Johnny Depp movie besides Deadwood. And she's a doll. She's from San Diego, and I came out with the full Edward, and it just about blew her mind. It blew her world.
Was that one of the hardest costumes to wear, or which one was the hardest one to
That's
put
a
on?
great question, Amelia, and I get that a lot. But honestly, for me, the hardest costume is the Mad Hatter. The makeup. I had Deborah Coleman, and she worked on the film. She did the makeup, and I did that, and it was 4 hours. And usually, yeah, it's a long time. You bring books and things, but the Mad Hatter was difficult because there was a lot of weird access. And I loved doing the character, but the makeup chair for that one was tough. But Edward can be tough too. And I don't like the leather outfit. I like the outdoor thing with the
actual movie was filmed not too far from where I live. It's about like 45 minutes to an hour from where I live.
Wow.
On one street. It was not too far from here. Actually.
Danny, do you get special requests to do certain film characters? I'm sure, you know, the Captain Jack has to be at the top of the list. I would almost be willing to bet money on it.
It is. Well, yeah, that's a great question, because I do a lot of Captain Jack type things, just not Captain Jack, because Disney is very protective of their properties.
Yeah.
I can tell you this, though. This is one of my favorite stories as a Johnny Depp double, and that Eugenio Derbez, and I think Amelia is familiar with his work. He's a big star in Mexico. He's the Jim Carrey of Mexico, they call him.
Who he is.
He's just a great guy. You know,
you don't have to be Hispanic to know who this shit is.
Oh, go ahead. Tell him in Spanish.
I'm in Montana, okay? I think taco is the most Spanish. They can say the word taco up here, and that's about as much Spanish as people speak. But Eugenio Derbez, who is a lovely guy, was in a movie called Jack and Jill with Adam Sandler. I don't know if you guys. Nobody's.
Of course.
I love that movie.
Johnny has a cameo in it with Al Pacino. They're at a Laker game, and Adam Sandler. So on the break, Eugenio Derbez, who was the gardener in Jack and Jill, said, "Johnny, could you do my film in Mexico City?" And this was the same time he was doing. I think he was doing The Lone Ranger at the time, because that was something I was supposed to work. But his stuntman lives here in Montana. But long story short, apparently, this is what I heard. You never know. It's Hollywood, right? So he says, no, but there's a guy that he's known from the motorcycle days, and said, check him out. And so Derbez calls me. Oh, no, he calls my agent. He calls my agent, Linda Collins, and he says, I really want this guy to play an action hero. And I'm 5'9", 120. I don't action hero. So I turned it down. And she calls me back. She goes, Adam, he was in an Adam Sandler movie, and he said, Johnny said about you. I said, oh. And I said, let me guess. It's playing Jack Sparrow. So Mad Dog. They said, well, sort of. And I said, oh, geez, this sounds good. It's the Mexican Jack Sparrow. And I said, oh, okay.
I love it.
He's called Aztec Man. So
I love it.
I said, look, I'm not an action guy. I said, I can do this character, Aztec Man, and I can get enough Spanish in and So it turns out to be this film called Instructions Not Included, which was the biggest Spanish-speaking English-speaking movie in history. It's number one. It's the top movie for Spanish speaking. It made $100 million in the States, so it did well. And
I
I
hope they give you a few dollars.
well, you do okay. I don't make Johnny Depp money, let's put it that way. But it was more for the experience
Yeah,
to
sure.
do this Jack Sparrow character
Mm-hmm.
as Aztec Man, as the Mexican Jack. As Derbez goes on later, no, it's the Mexican Jack Sparrow. And he liked my little. It was originally one line, but he saw I could act, and so he did this whole scene where I'm getting the girl and I'm getting the money and the fame and the limos. And he comes in and he's the stunt man and he's getting his ass kicked. And it turns out he says, you know what? I want Johnny Depp in the court scene. He said, oh, he's doing Tano. He goes, no, I want you to play Johnny Depp testifying for me in court, which is ironic, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Particularly before they, just because this is during Amber Heard. And then I went on to write a deposition for him, for Amber Heard. But the funny thing is that I started doing these kind of weird parts.
Yeah.
And a guy in England by the name of Richard Driscoll, director, says, I want this guy, but I don't want Johnny Depp. I want him to do his own thing. And this was a movie with a lot of great actors. It was Daryl Hannah, Michael Madsen, Patrick Bergen from Sleeping with the Enemy. A lot of top. David Carradine's last. Peter O'Toole was in it. My mother's like, "Oh, you got to do this. Doesn't matter what it is."
Yeah.
So I get this character part. It was a sheriff deputy in a movie called El Dorado. It's on.
Oh God, yeah.
You can stream it. It's on.
Yeah.
And I played the character.
I know the film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, Mad Dog. So he's like, I played it straight. I didn't do Johnny. And he goes, no. He goes, I want you to make it big. What? So I mean, and he kept making me bigger. So the character's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It turns out in the reviews, people singled me out in a movie with Daryl Hannah, Patrick Bergen, Michael Madsen, David Carradine, Peter O'Toole. And I thought, whoa, this is a great break. And it started leading to other parts, non-Johnny parts.
Yeah.
And I just finished up a film with Richard, and it's called LA Takedown, and it just happens to be Tom Sizemore's last film, or one of his last films, because we have the same manager and Charles Lago. And so he gave me it's kind of a Joe Pesci, Steve Buscemi kind of character.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I still look like myself, but I'm not playing Johnny at all. It's so far in
well, I have a question in that regard.
Sure.
When you're playing Danny Lopez, or when Danny Lopez is playing a character, how do you demystify yourself from the Johnny Depp persona, because it is such an intrinsic part of who you are?
Wow, that's a great question. I don't think I've gotten that one before. The only thing I could tell you, Mad Dog, is that the opportunity. My nephew is a film director, and we're doing a film here this week, and he saw it. I always send it to him, and he didn't mention Johnny Depp, and I was so pleased that he didn't see it. Mm-hmm. And he can tell when they're one, but so even though there's that weird, just the physical, I took this thing. I said, well, this is not going to be a Johnny Depp character or a Johnny Depp part. And I did this, and we did another film for Shudder Network called Necromonicon. I think it's on Amazon Prime as well. It'll be on my website when I give the information out. But well, I did kind of the same thing, Mad Dog, where if you intentionally try not to be Johnny, you become Johnny, right?
Yeah.
When you try to disguise yourself, they're going, oh, that's John. They think you're
almost. And what you're saying is that you almost, it looks like you're trying too hard.
Correct. Because that's what celebrities will do, though.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, you mentioned film. I know that you are a film historian, a movie buff. You're a collector. Take me around your home. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Take me around your home. I want to see what you got. Let's see what you got. Oh, before we do that,
that's a request.
Linda Rita Morgan says instruction not included was an awesome movie. Absolutely loved it. Look, if it's got Linda Rita Morgan's stamp of approval,
genius.
She's like the Siskel and Ebert in this house. So there you go, kid.
Was there a movie that you are glad you turned down?
Well, the movie I turned down. No, well, I didn't.
Was there a movie you were glad that you turned down?
Yes. Oh my God, what a great question that is. Okay. During and after the trial. Okay. Now, mind you, I probably lost tens of thousands of dollars when the Amber Heard thing. I mean, you go as your star goes when you're a celebrity lookalike. And I just couldn't get anything going in Hollywood.
Brother, if not to interrupt you, but I got to tell you something. If you were smart and you had the right kind of publicist, like publicist Mad Dog, we would have cleaned up. Are you shitting me?
I'm in. I'm in.
We would have cleaned up.
Well,
I would have had you all over the outside of that damn courtroom. Are you shitting me? Oh,
I will tell you this, Mad Dog.
please.
I got, oh my God, the whole Amber Heard thing. It was so strange because
Could have made you some real money, brother.
I could have probably, or it put me in jail, one of the two. I would have been.
But you would have had enough to bail
To
yourself.
bail myself.
Right?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
exactly
I'll do it for this week, and then next week I'll have enough for next week.
right to get out of jail. But
Exactly.
I mean, to answer your question, yes.
Mhm.
Right immediately after the trial, I got approached by Hulu, Hulu, I think it was Hulu or Tubi, one of the streaming networks, to do a documentary about the case, but it wasn't going to take sides. And I said, well, I can't do this because I'm obviously biased, and there's no way I'm going to take anything that's going to make Johnny look bad.
Yeah,
And,
of course. That's
anyway,
your bread
long
and
story
butter.
short, it turned out that they found out I worked for him and stuff, so I couldn't be unbiased. And I wasn't. I was the most biased person against her from day one. I had heard things about her, and I don't want to get myself in trouble, but
I'll
let's-
tell you what, I'll get myself in trouble.
okay, Mad Dog,
Amber Heard likes women, okay?
right,
Let's just put it out there.
that's it.
Amber Heard could give two shits about Dick Squat, okay? She likes chicks.
I like that. That was clever. I'm
All
stealing.
right?
I'm stealing that. I'm going to steal that one.
Absolutely. Hey, look, this is public domain now, babe. It's out there.
All right.
So, so I'm gonna say it. Okay, she's a conniving little sneaky shit, you know. And that didn't like her from Jump Street. I didn't like her from day one. It was a money grab. All simple gets. It was a money grab. The chick knew what she was doing. Her lawyer knew what she was doing. Her lawyer was filmed 6 months into the trial. I'm sorry, 6 months prior to the trial, meeting with Johnny Depp, getting his autograph.
That's right.
And there's
Wow.
film of it.
That's right.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, $400 million went missing.
So, you know, her lawyer was a Depp fan.
Sure. Yeah. The judge. Well, the thing is that her acting talents were put on full display in that trial, and now we can see why she's retired.
Because she's a lousy fucking actress, Danny.
Mhm. Oh,
She's a horrible actress.
wanted to say, by the way, happy early birthday, because I know your birthday's coming up. And
It's coming up, and
Yeah.
and I know you have family in town, so
I
I
have
know we're not going to keep you very
Thanks,
long.
Amelia, for tipping the hat. Thank you. There went
by
that.
the way, Amelia, you can also mention that I share a birthday with somebody quite famous.
Yes.
Actually, a few famous people there, but and it happens to be true. I've got my ID in here. But one of the interesting things is that I think some people have probably thought it was a publicity thing, but we actually do share the same birthday.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
That's legit. Absolutely.
here's an
It is.
interesting parallel too that I hadn't brought up, but I had pulled my Johnny Depp 20 years ago. I met a girl 20 years my junior, and got married to her, tall, beautiful, blonde woman. And I lost my house.
Never marry a blonde or trouble.
Tall,
They're
beautiful,
trouble.
and she liked girls, and she was a lot like
Who, Amber?
Yeah.
Amber.
Yeah.
Amber Heard.
And then I
Yeah.
went on to date some real crazies. I dated Britney Spears' double, and which Orlando Bloom walked into the restaurant and saw He's what he thought he was being punked. He says, "What's Johnny having lunch with Britney Spears for?" And Orlando, of course, thought Johnny was having lunch with Britney Spears. But I met a beautiful young lady who was the double for Johnny's first, major relationship, Vanessa Paradis.
Mm-hmm.
So aside from that whole thing of weird things, Clara and I became a couple, and we've been together almost as long as Johnny and Vanessa. So I thought that was kind of cool on how that happened. They brought us together, and shortly after they split up, which was I thought was but that's one of those interesting things in life, where you don't know what's going to happen, and it's fate, like you said, Mad Dog. Fate, right? Fate.
Absolutely.
And fate has interesting things in life, and I am very, 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 very lucky and very blessed. But thank you.
I'll tell you what. When last we spoke, you were about to get up and show us around the little log cabin there in the woods.
I'm going to promise this to you on camera. We're going to do that when I clean my house.
Yeah.
And we're going to take you guys around the museum because it's a mess downstairs. I got 8 people here from LA.
Yeah.
And there's beds and bedding everywhere. So I don't want to trip and break my leg. But I promise you, we will do that again, where you will see things, especially if you're a fan of the Universal Monsters. I have
oh God, absolutely.
Things from the 50s and 60s. I've got it's quite amazing, actually.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, let's in lieu of that, let's take a look at this. All right, Amelia, your favorite part of the show, kid.
I like that one.
what you are. the strength to carry on, and you cast your fears aside, and you know you can't survive. So when you feel like hope is gone, look inside you and be strong, and you'll finally see the truth, that a hero lies in you. It's a long road when you face the world alone. No one reaches out a hand for you to hold. You can find love if you search within yourself, and the emptiness you felt will disappear. And then a hero comes along with the strength to carry on, and you cast your fears aside, and you know you can survive. So when you feel like hope is gone, look inside you and be strong, and you finally see the truth, that a hero lies in you. Lord knows dreams are hard to follow, but don't let anyone tear them away. Hold on, there will be tomorrow. In time, you'll find the way. And a hero comes along with the strength to carry on, and you cast your fears aside, and you know you can survive. So when you feel like hope is gone, look inside you and be strong, and you'll finally see the truth, that a hero lies in you. That a hero lies in you. That a hero lies in you.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
Have you ever
beautiful.
seen that before?
Oh man, that's amazing. I absolutely love it. I don't know who did that, but what an amazing video.
That
oh,
was a tribute to Danny Lopez made by a dedicated fan.
That's
I
beautiful.
will give you her name after the show.
well, I'm
Um,
writing her a check now. I just got to get my checkbook
that's
out.
a remarkable
Mhm.
sizzle reel.
What a beautiful
That's
tribute that
beautiful.
is. Wow.
And I don't know, Amelia, do you know that song?
Yes, but Mariah Carey.
Oh, it's Mariah
Oh,
Carey.
it's Mariah. Okay.
Mhm.
Oh, I
Oh,
was
I'm gonna
actually
get hit with a copyright strike on
playing
that.
along with the
Yeah.
tribute. I just thought that was, oh my God, whoever,
Mhm.
thank you. God bless you.
Yeah,
Thank
I'm
you
going to
so
get hit with a copyright strike on
Oh,
that.
send them my way. I've got good lawyers. I've got great lawyers.
Right?
Well,
That's
whoever
all
wrote that
good.
knows me. I've never seen that actually.
Yeah.
You know, I'm very blessed that so many of the Johnny Depp fans have accepted me and been so gracious, and I have so many. I try to answer everyone back. I was telling Amelia that that I always take time for the people that take the time, because I feel like if you have the time to write, and I know if Johnny would do the same if he it's just physically impossible.
Yeah, absolutely.
But and I think that's why his company is very good with me, and I have some great stories.
Well, I want to talk about that. There
Yeah.
must have been occasions for the two of you to work with each other.
Yes, yes.
Let's talk about that.
Well, this is the interesting, and I'm not sure if I told either of you the story. It's a long one, but I'll try to condense it.
Oh, don't condense. I want to hear every detail.
Well, when I first started doing the whole tribute celebrity impersonation thing, and it got big, it started to get big films, videos, everything.
Sure.
My agent called and says, "There's a gig in Reno, Nevada. That pays you $5,000 an hour." Okay, well, that's a no-brainer. And but we don't have any information on this person. They've already paid. So I was a little bit worried, and it was at one of the major casinos in Reno. And so I thought, well, okay, I'm going to take a friend with me. And it happened to be Duncan Fora of the Bay City Rollers, one of the original singers for the Bay City Rollers. And
I know who Duncan is.
You probably know Duncan, Mad Dog, a great guy.
I know who Duncan. I know who the Bay City. I emceed their concert.
Oh,
I emceed their first United States concert.
Then you did exactly. So Duncan,
I know who the Bay City Rollers are.
So Duncan and I, we decided, let's drive it. We were in Vegas, and let's drive it. We went up to and it was for a birthday party. So I got my Depp stuff, and I was going to go up there, and I get there, and there's 5 rooms. I thought, well, that's weird. Why would they have 5 rooms? They were all suites on the top floor. And I think, I hope they don't think they're hiring Johnny, because it was that kind of thing, right? Where they had a car for me and everything. So I get there with Duncan, and I go, well, we don't need 5 rooms. I go, let's just get a room, and we'll get, we weren't in there 5 minutes, and champagne was sent up, and all the amenities are there. And so it's time for the meeting, the birthday party, and I get there, and there's nobody there. There's not anybody at the hotel. And Barbara, who booked me on that, you should have her on and tell the story. It's crazy as it is. I get there, and there's nobody there at the steakhouse, and I'm in my, I'm in the full Johnny with the ear, the makeup and the tattoos. I got all the tattoos.
Oh, sure.
And waitress walks in. Says, what are you going to have? I go, well, I'll wait till the birthday girl gets here. There's no birthday girl. There's an old lady waiting out. There's an older lady, older and really classy, walks in, right? Oh shit, is this going to be an escort? Do they think it's?
Oh Lord,
right. Because I remember my Glenda Collins, who was my agent, was the most wonderful person in the world, just the best agent that a guy could ever want. Says, I don't run an escort service, because they would get calls, And so she sits down, and I'm so, where's the party? There's no party. I said, okay. I'm Danny. Nice to meet you. And this is weird. And order what you want. And I said, well, I'm just going to have a salad, right? I was like, this is crazy stuff. And she starts asking me questions. And this is at the big steakhouse in Reno at the Harrah's or whatever it was. I can't remember now. And about what I do. Why are you doing this? What leads you to want to be doing this and this and that? It's basically giving me the third degree. Nice, really nice, not rude, but just what's motivating you to do this? And I said, well, I like Johnny Depp, and I like his movies, and I used to do George Harrison and Keith Richards and Davy Jones, and I would do it in tribute bands, and I thought it might be kind of fun to try to do Johnny Depp. I'm an actor. I thought this might be a vehicle for me to get into the business again. So she was maybe there all of 20 minutes, and these 5 $100 bills for the waitress who brought my salad. And I'm just like, whoa,
$500 for salad.
Yeah. Wow. I was going to order an appetizer to go with that $500 tip she left, but I didn't. And I went back and I called my agent, and I said, and Duncan's like, what happened? I go, dude. And Duncan from the Rollers, he's seen some crazy shit, right?
Oh God, sure.
And he's blown away by my stuff. So I'm thinking, dude, I don't know who this woman was. She was a French woman with a thick accent, and
who had money to burn.
She obviously paid for all the rooms and all the champagne. And long story short, we didn't know who she was. The agent goes, well, I got paid. Just check out of there tomorrow. So there's a knock at the door. Duncan and I, drinking all night, passed out. And he says, there's something for you downstairs. And I said, what? So I go, Duncan, I'm not going down there in case it's that crazy woman. So Duncan goes down there. He comes back with a guitar, a brand new guitar with the tags on it, Gibson guitar, an ES335, Mad Dog, one of those nice studio.
Oh,
guitars.
yeah, I know it. It's
Oh.
real nice.
A basket with all kinds of French perfumes for my wife at the time, and gifts for the stepson, and just all of these things. And there's a Viper Room jacket, a jacket from the Viper Room, like my cat from the Viper Room. And it smells like smoke. It reeks of smoke. You know how when somebody smokes.
Oh, yes.
And in fact, I reach in the pocket, and there's a Viper Room match. It's right on my desk here. Viper Room matchbook.
Yeah, pack matches. Yep.
And a receipt that said J. Depp on the receipt. So I'm thinking to myself, this is some nutcase or something weird's going on. So I find out later that the woman asking questions, we don't, I mean, I still to this day don't know for sure, was Vanessa Paradis' mom in 2007. Checking out to see what I was doing.
Gotcha.
To make sure there was no funny business, that I wasn't writing checks or
Impersonating him all the way.
No shit.
That they left all of these gifts. Now top that one.
Wow.
For a crazy story, but it's true. And I've got Duncan Four of the Rollers, who's in South Africa right now. Hey, Duncan.
Yeah.
Touring with Rabbit, his group from South Africa. And
that's remarkable.
That's my Johnny Depp
That's
story.
remarkable.
That we
Amelia, the Pitbull Chapman. Questions for Danny Lopez.
I noticed that you were saying that you had grown up wanting to be an actor or musician. Was there another career that you had wanted to fall back on if none of this had panned out?
Wow, I remember going to Catholic school, and the nuns go, what was that old saying? You're going to grow up to be a clown or a comedian? I said, yeah, I think so. All my siblings are professionals. I think I'm the only one that wanted to be in this business in some capacity. So Amelia, that's a great question, but I don't really think I ever had anything else in mind except to perform. I suppose I probably would have been involved in some way, maybe working at an entertainment company or working at a singing, who knows, but no, I don't think so. I was too small for football or basketball. I played a little baseball, but I've always wanted to be in the business in some capacity. And I feel like I'm really blessed and lucky, because a lot of the lookalikes don't like their stars, or their stars are rude to them. But Johnny's just a great guy. He's a good person,
I've actually heard that story shared by my friend Steve McCoy, who is the country's foremost Tom Jones impersonator.
I know Steve, yeah.
And he said it's very disheartening when your subject is in the audience and you're performing as them, and they come backstage and meet you and they're a real dick.
Oh yeah.
Or they tell you that your performance sucked, and that you did not capture them at all.
Right. And
I had the unfortunate occurrence of having heard such a conversation take place with the subject and the impersonator, and I was very uncomfortable, and I wasn't even involved in it. I was, of course, off to the side, but that
there's
was
some very strange,
uncomfortable. Yeah, it was a real strange. What I want to say, an exchange of almost like a battle of wills, Danny.
Right.
It was a very odd, peculiar kind of exchange to witness. And that happened in Las Vegas, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the similarities and the differences. I'm hearing you speak, and I can hear the Johnny. I can also hear the George Harrison coming out, because I can hear I can hear a very distinctive British accent coming out.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if it's that George or is that Captain Jack.
It's a
coming out.
Hispanic that he's got in on too.
It's
It's
not
funny,
Hispanic.
but-
It's clearly British, Amelia.
Well,
Yeah, he's got that.
there's an explanation for all of
This
it.
is from a full-blooded Mexican who doesn't speak a lick of Spanish.
I speak some.
Very, very little, by
We've
the
been
way.
trying to do our Spanish together, me and
That's
Amelia.
right.
Uh,
I've been practicing.
And I was
Well, we'll
telling
talk
her,
about that after the show.
yeah, the English thing makes sense because Claire and I've been together. I've been going back and forth to England since 2000. And when did we meet? 2009, I think we met. So since 2009, I'm in England, like Depp, a lot, quite a bit. So when you're there, you know how you kind of assume you start saying stuff like, you reckon that might be, whatever. And
Yes.
and if you listen to Johnny, he also does. It's a Gemini thing where we pick up the when you're talking like that.
Is it just the actor in you assimilating like a sponge?
Or subconscious. I have had people when I'm in Montana tell me I sound like a Canadian, or in Spain or in Mexico, I can pick up the Spanish. So I think it is the actor. I think that's a good observation, Mad Dog, that it's the actor in you and that you hear the dialect that's being spoken and you pick up a little bit on it. But that's actually a good observation because I do spend a lot of time I love the UK. I mean, Johnny actually moved to the UK.
I've never been. I got a friend of mine, Robert Whitaker Johnson, that keeps wanting to get me over there.
Oh, the photographer. Is he a photographer? The one who shot the Beatles?
One of the ones that shot the Beatles.
Okay, one of the guys that shot them.
One of them. Yeah.
Small world, small world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing is I'm looking at your hands. Johnny loves his rings, of course.
Yep.
He
I do
also
too.
loves his tattoos.
Okay.
I notice you're missing one.
Interesting. Because I always hear from tattoo people. I have tattoos for every Johnny Depp tattoo. They're plastered all over my arms and the visible. You notice there's none.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't have a single tattoo. I'm afraid of needles. It's a phobia. So
really,
I am. Yeah, since I was a kid. And
couldn't you get someone to do like a rub on for you?
Hennas.
They have them. I'm not even making this. They have them.
I have tattoos, and they are hennas. Let's see if I've got some here.
Oh yeah, the henna tattoos.
And they are. I've had tattoo artists come up and go, "Who did your work? That's great." I said, "Oh, I pasted it on."
Yeah.
For every Johnny Depp tattoo is right.
Oh wow. Yeah, sure.
So it takes a while because let's see. Here's the one he got for his mom. That's Betty Sue.
Oh.
You see that? And that goes on this arm here.
Yeah.
Actually, you know where the L go. This is Johnny's Native American roots, which I also have, and that's his. But you can see how well done they are. They're
very well done.
Tattoos.
Incredible work. Absolutely.
Oh, they're amazing. And the thing is, this is, of course, is probably his most famous one here. This is anybody remember?
Oh yeah.
Oh sure.
That was done for his son. So I've got a box full of them, and I wear them when I do paparazzi stuff. Whenever he wants to go out. I've got the clothes, and like I said, this made by the.
What about the bird on the hand?
Yep, all the bird on the hand, the scum for Amber Heard, and so no, I don't. That's an interesting thing. I'm glad you brought that up, Mad Dog, because people, I'm not crazy, or I want to be wearing that stuff when I'm not Johnny, when I'm not being paid to do it.
Right.
People always ask to my buddies pick me up I got a free bar tab every time because the girls come to the table.
Sure.
So they come by, 6 or 7 guys, Amelia, right? Looking for women.
Correct.
Put the hat on, just put the hat on or whatever. And we're not
free drinks all around.
Free drinks. No, and I'm in, and there's a bar here called the Sip and Dip. It's very famous in Montana. It's one of the 10 quirkiest bars in the country. It was named by GQ magazine. So they take me, and then we sit in the VIP in the back, and 5 seconds Canadians are just all surrounding the table, and my friends. It's an easy way to meet girls. So that's the interesting part about where the train meets, and
Oh yeah.
I don't like the attention from it when I'm not getting paid to do it.
Yeah.
That's my own ego too. I've got an ego. I want to do my own things and do my
Right.
own.
Of
'Cause
course.
when you're out with your friends, you want to be out with your
This
friends.
movie, I suggest it to my nephew.
Yeah.
Deformality. It's on IMDb, and I'm gonna plug it in a minute. But he says he's got me doing this thing where this serial killer imagines he's talking to Johnny Depp, and I just love the part. If it's written right, if it's done with thought and think, I don't mind doing it, and I will never do anything because Mad Dog, I get these things all the time to make them look bad. Somebody wanted me to take a picture of Johnny doing it with a burnt corpse, and really tacky stuff. And I
sure.
Yeah. But
I mean, I'm sure just natural decorum and good taste, overrule that sort of chicanery.
Here's something that he wouldn't want his mother to see or his kids to see.
Absolutely. Oh God, no.
Yeah.
And so you got to take it into account. I'm blessed. He sends stuff my way all the time.
Absolutely.
He is good with me. He mentions me. It's a weird. It was kind of the same thing when I was doing Harrison, and George Harrison's sister says, "I'm glad you played George strong. He wasn't the quiet one. He was
absolutely.
He was actually very talkative and very invested in the Beatles, and And George is my favorite because he was his own person, and he just happened to be in this band with the two greatest songwriters maybe ever. But he stood out as a guy in his own right, and I feel like that with myself, in that Johnny's the greatest actor of our generation, maybe one of the greatest actors of all time.
Amazing considering how painfully shy he is.
Correct.
Isn't that remarkable?
Well,
you have, I believe, I've always had this belief about actors. You have got to be the most duplicitous split personality to be able to pull off being a great actor. Look at the greatest. Al Pacino is an absolute powerhouse on the screen.
Right. That's right.
But he's a fucking lunatic in real life.
That's right. And Johnny
Al has lost his mind.
Wow.
He has. He's a great actor, but he's just lost his shit.
Yeah.
But when you say action, that camera's rolling.
He's like right on
every line. He remembers everything.
And I would say that's true, Mad Dog. And I think you know this better than anybody, that I think they use acting as a form of therapy.
Very much so.
Introverts. You meet, people that you would think would be some of the loudest, most obnoxious. They're very Chappelle. I meet these guys and they're really quiet, sweet, unassuming people. And they use it as, like you say, there's a weird psychology with that. And
I mean, I'll tell you, for Amelia and I, this was absolutely deliberate to call ourselves the Pit Bull and the Mad Dog. Well, I've been called the Mad Dog for 25 years, television and radio, but I had to come up with a persona for Amelia. Right. I said, you know what? I'm going to break you of this shy stuff. You're the Pit Bull now.
And I did. I went off on somebody on the air.
Oh, Amelia.
But here's the thing, though. It's people like
they were picking on Angelo, so I had to.
This is our duplicitous personality. I can do things as the Mad Dog. You can do things as Johnny that you couldn't do as Danny.
Right.
But what does Danny Lopez do when he's not Johnny? What do you do for fun? What do you do to relax?
That's
show me a part. I want to get into your life. Show me your life a little.
That's a great question. And remember, I'm only Johnny. Oh God, I mean, a couple of weeks out of the year, even when I'm working, because we shoot scenes and things. So when I'm Danny, I mean, which is basically who I am. I mean, Johnny's a job. It's a job, and it's a pleasure. I love doing this. It makes people happy. It's a job. Angelo, I do the state fairs, and I go out and I do these characters, and I do Willy Wonka and Alice in Wonderland, and the joy. I actually do Johnny's characters more than Johnny does, because he shoots the movie and he's done.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm the Mad Hatter more than Johnny is, because I'm the Mad Hatter every year at the state fairs in Kansas, and I'm doing the Montana State Fair.
Yeah.
Next month, and I'm going to do I did various characters last year, so I love children to come up and go. Children don't understand a lookalike. They think it's the guy from the movie, from the screen.
Well, that's a great segue. That's a hell of a segue. Let's take a look at the guy on that screen.
A clip here, Johnny. Public Enemies opens July 1st, and what are we going to see?
I don't know.
Oh, that's right. What are we going to see here?
I have no idea.
Let's take a look at a clip here, Mr. Depp. What are we going to see? The film opens April 18th. You know what we're looking at here?
This is something from the film Transcendence.
What is the clip here, Johnny?
I have no idea.
Oh, for God's sake. This is beautiful. This looks like an old-fashioned, I don't know, sloop. Is it a sloop or something? Is it a yacht? Well, I don't know what that is.
I really don't know. It's just a boat.
Yeah.
As far as
You look like you know what you're doing on a horse.
Yeah, I don't. That was probably about 2.5 seconds before everything went very sideways. There's two things that I have a problem with. One is I never read screen direction, which is the stuff that tells you what to do.
How can that be possible?
Well, I'd rather not know what they want me to do.
You purchased an island?
I did, in fact, yeah.
Wow, I didn't know you could do that.
Neither did I.
Have you seen the movie?
No, I've not.
I'm sorry, you've not seen the movie?
Not just yet.
And you're too busy to see it, probably?
In a way, once my job is done on the film, it's really none of my business.
We're talking about something else, Johnny. Settle down here. For God's sakes, can you keep your mind on the movie? Every time I turn around, but it's a lot of fun, and
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Pardon. Aren't you a little curious about how the work looks that you're doing?
No.
This is irresponsible of me, but nice going. Thanks, man.
That's
Okay.
the greatest clip I've ever seen.
And there is the subject of your life.
That,
John, he really
that
is
clip.
kind of, that's him.
That's him.
That's him.
In that
That's
minutes,
classic
in
Depp.
that 2-minute clip, that's Johnny Depp. That's how you describe Johnny Depp.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
He has no interest in seeing his work. When he's done, he's done. He has no idea what film clips they sent over to the show.
doesn't care. No.
And doesn't care.
No.
Mad Dog, I promised Danny that we wouldn't keep him very long tonight because he's had family coming in. His birthday's coming up. He's
I'll
got
tell
his
you
dad
what, we
coming.
will definitely
Well.
consider this part one.
Yes.
I would love to come
Consider
back.
this part
Let's
one.
do
I'll
10,
tell you what.
10 parts. I've got 10 parts.
As many as you want.
I got to tell you guys, it's funny because I do a lot of these kinds of things to promote. They expect you to promote the movie,
Sure.
and it was funny watching that clip because when I'm not doing Johnny, I'm out, doing my thing, and you guys were fantastic. I really enjoyed this podcast.
Thank you very much.
And I promise you, Mad Dog, because I hear around the grapevine, you're not like those wimpy guys that drink decaf coffee. We don't want those.
I do drink decaf coffee.
Oh shoot! Oh no! Oh,
But
okay.
I put a lot of decaf into a little water.
Somebody gave me a tip, but you're an Elvis Presley and a Beatles guy.
Oh,
And
absolutely, for
okay,
sure.
so that I did learn, and we are going to go on a tour because I've got some amazing things. We could go on another hour about my drunk days, personal drunk days with Harry Nielsen, and my nephew is looking at me going, "Those are pictures with Harry Nielsen." And yeah, we used to go out getting drunk because Harry, once he had a few shots, he would call me George. And so we would go out and we'd have a good time. But I've got some amazing stories with Linda Blair and Tom Peterson from Cheap Trick and all my rock and roll days, Chevy Chase, and then the Beatle thing.
Chevy's a prick.
No. Well, yeah, but he was nice to me. So it's funny because I said, Chevy, can I get
he's a prick.
Yeah, no. Yeah, well, he can. He can.
Is.
I can't say that because I can get in trouble.
I can.
Well,
and nobody's going to stop me.
Nobody's going to top the Mad Dog.
They're not going to stop the Mad Dog. Absolutely not.
Well, I will tell you this, Mad Dog. I enjoyed this. If I could get people to come on over to, I got LA Takedown coming out it's one of Tom Sizemore's last films.
Mm-hmm.
He shot it in London this year. Filmmaker Richard Driscoll, who's kind of the Ed Wood of the 2020s. He's amazing because he basically lets me do what I want. And that's called LA Takedown. And that will be coming up on Amazon Prime. And then we have, I did a horror movie. Done quite a few horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
I did a movie called Geist, and I did a couple of horror. But this one's called Necromonicon, and that will be on the Shudder Network, I believe. And if you'd like more information, it's Johnny 99. So it's JOHNNY DOUBLE and the number 9. And that's my Instagram and my Facebook if you want information on
beautiful
on things. And I got also one film I'm doing with my nephew.
We'll make sure Amelia puts that out there for folks.
Amelia's going to do all of that. Okay.
Yes.
And I want to mention my nephew's film. It's one I'm in with Sean Weiss from Mighty Ducks.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep. And that's
I'll tell you what. Why don't we, Amelia? Why don't we book a session?
Yes.
With Danny's nephew. We've had many directors on the show.
Oh, he's
fantastic. And we have a particular interest here in film. Film directors, and we love comedy, we love horror. We're not big on drama, but we love comedy and horror.
Well, I'll tell you what, when we get the film done, and this is I think these are some of the last scenes we're doing. Maybe we could do a show about the film, and I can be on as well.
Oh God, absolutely,
of course, absolutely.
Maybe
Yes.
Sean could do a podcast.
Absolutely,
as well.
of course.
Sean's come back from his problems, and he's a great.
That's
actor.
a no-brainer. Absolutely.
Oh, of course, we'd love to have you back. Of course.
Just a reminder to everybody watching the show: we are part of a national growing campaign. Be a buddy, not a bully.
Yes.
Remember, if you see bullying, abuse of any sort, report it. Don't short it, okay? Report it, don't short it. Tell people what's going on. Do not tolerate bullying of any type from anybody for any reason. Check us out on linktree.com/WWTF radio. Follow us on TikTok. We are on iHeartRadio, Instagram, Pandora, Apple Podcasts. We are on more than 3,000 podcast and radio platforms worldwide with nearly 11 million listeners around the world. For Danny Lopez, Double Depp. For Amelia, the Pitbull Chapman. I am the Mad Dog. Take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye, folks.